Yo, what is going on YouTube? It's your boy Sofa here and welcome back to a brand new YouTube video. Now today's video I'm showing you guys how you can end up completing the Pacifist Run challenge inside of Dead Rails. Now before we get to this video, make sure to like and subscribe as it will really appreciate it and it does help with the channel a lot. Yeah, let's get directly into this video. Now if you guys don't know what the Pacifist Run challenge is, it's basically the act of completing the game without killing no enemies. So you cannot kill no enemies manually and the safe zone turrets do not end up counting. So let's just go ahead and get into what we're going to need. Firstly, it's going to be our classes, alright? Now the class I'm going to highly recommend that you end up using, and 100% of the time you're going to want to use the conductor class. In my opinion, this challenge is only really feasible with the conductor class. If you don't have that class, use the high roller class, or maybe even you could get away with using something like the miner class or something like that, you know, something that starts off with coal. But yeah, that's what I ended up recommending for class. Now the last thing that you probably are going to want to have is some bonus coal. Now this is not required, but if you do have a lot of extra bonds, you know what I'm saying, that you don't mind spending, I would recommend starting off with at least like 5 coal pieces, you know what I'm saying, so that's around 10 bonds. Now you don't have to do this if you don't have no bonds, but I would just recommend it. It makes the challenge a little bit easier, but you know what I'm saying, you don't really need it. And yeah, alright, now when you end up spawning into the game, you're gonna have a whole bunch of coal pieces. There's gonna be the 2 from your class, and if you ended up buying the additional pieces of coal, you should end up having around 5 pieces of coal. Now you're gonna automatically off the rip have 7 pieces of coal before you even end up selling your gold piece. So yeah, that's gonna be pretty good. Now what you're gonna want to do is you're gonna end up going over to the trading post and selling your gold piece, which is gonna give you an additional $50. You're gonna end up having $70 right here. Now at this point, what you're going to want to do is you're going to end up heading over to the general store and you're going to end up buying the last 3 pieces of coal. Once you end up doing that, you're going to have roughly around 10 pieces of coal, which is going to be very good, and that's going to end up taking you a long way. And the thing about the conductor class is it's going to take you a longer way with the coal fuel because of the speed of the train. If you guys don't know, each piece of coal is going to end up taking you around 6,000 meters, so yeah, you'll be good off of that. Now what you're going to want to do from here is just simply collect the 3 newspapers that you can find by the general store, and you're just going to end up wanting to put them on your train somewhere, maybe through the windows. I ain't gonna lie, because these the little sheriffs or guys or whatever their names are, they will shoot you through the window. So I would definitely recommend putting like 2, 1 on each side, you know, to end up protecting yourself from the bullets. All right, so just go ahead and throw those somewhere. You can throw the last paper like wherever, it doesn't really matter, and you can end up adding your coal to the train and you can end up just getting a go on. At this point, I ended up riding my train all the way over to the 10,000 meter marker, and that's definitely what I would end up recommending doing. I would not recommend stopping anywhere to go get some furniture from one of the furniture stores or something. Don't end up doing that. Just ride your train all the way to the 10,000 meter thing to not overcomplicate things. Now if you do have any additional coal, I recommend putting some more in, and if you don't have no more coal and you feel like you're running low on fuel, you can end up spending the night here because the turrets will automatically kill any enemies that end up coming in here. For me, I had enough coal, so I just put some more coal in there and I was able to automatically go to the 20,000 meter mark, no problem. So yeah, that's what I ended up doing right here. Once you do end up taking your train over to the 20,000 meter marker, what you're going to want to do is usually just spend the night here. Alright, so around this time, this should be your first, second, even third night sometimes. What you're going to want to do is spend the night here, and depending on what the moon is, it might be a blood moon, it might be a werewolf moon, or it might just be a regular thing. You're just going to want to get some resources. So you can end up selling the vampires if it's a blood moon, selling the werewolves if it's a werewolf moon, or you could even end up using the zombies as fuel. But basically, you're going to want to spend the night here. After this is going to be the 20 to 30,000 meter marker, which is going to be very important as we're going to be looking for the Tesla lab. Very important to this run. It'll either spawn around the 20 to 30,000 meter range, or it'll end up spawning around the 50 to 60,000 range. So yeah, just keep an eye out for the Tesla lab and we can end up moving on to the next checkpoint. As you guys can see, when I ended up riding past, as you guys can see, is Fort Constitution instead of the Tesla lab. So for some of y'all, Tesla lab might spawn a little earlier. For me, Fort Constitution ended up spawning up. So that's going to end up meaning that the Tesla lab is not going to end up spawning until the 50 to 60,000 meter range, which is fine. And what I ended up doing here is pretty much just kicking the night here. Alright, so you could end up kicking the night, and if some zombies or something or vampires end up spawning, you could end up selling them right here. You're pretty much just going to end up spending the night here and looking for coal. Okay, coal is very important. Sometimes it doesn't spawn at the general store. All of this is randomized. Our runs are not going to be completely identical, but for the most part they'll be kind of similar. As you can see right here, I ended up selling my my vampires that I ended up getting from the last night, and yeah, you can end up going over here. Definitely buy you some snake oil, very important. Buy some snake oil, will really help, but we're not really going to be buying much until we end up getting to that Tesla lab, which is going to have all the money and contents. We're going to end up spending the night here, get us some bread, get us some more fuel, you'll be straight. And that's basically how this run is just going to end up going. As you guys can see, I did end up examining the helmet right here, and I believe at this checkpoint right here as well, there was an outlaw outpost. As you guys can see right here, I ended up looting that as well. You're basically going to want to loot the surroundings around you, because sometimes there might be good stuff like outposts or houses that the turrets will automatically kill the enemies. very important for this run as well. I ended up doing this and I ended up getting a full set of armor and some bunch of money. So yeah, that was very good. I know I skipped a little ahead here, but there was a vampire night as well, a little blood moon. So I ended up selling these additional vampires right here. And as you guys can see, we got a bunch of bread from this, around like 200. So at this point, I just ended up buying a whole bunch of snake oil. Snake oil is pretty important, but you're not really going to be buying snake oil at this point. I mean, like most of the snake oil you're going to end up buying like right after you end up looting that Tesla lab. If you did loot the Tesla lab earlier, you could definitely start buying snake oil and stuff. But you know, for me, it's going to be at the 50 to 60,000 meter mark. So yeah, that's what I ended up doing, buying some snake oil, and we can end up moving on. At this point, I had enough coal to end up riding all the way over to the 50,000 meter. I completely skipped the 40,000 one. Again, if you have to go to the 40,000 one to restock on fuel and resources, definitely do that. But for me, I had enough resources just to skip that 40k one, and I ended up making it over to the 50,000 one. Now here I did end up making a little mistake because I had ended up trying to go for these like dead outlaws. I had ended up you know, running over, but I kind of went too far from the turret area zone, so I ended up getting hit. And even though I got a bunch of money, I ended up losing it because I had to use the snake oil so I wouldn't die completely. But yeah, that's what I ended up doing, a little mistake right there. But I ended up selling those outlaws and, you know, using the horses for fuel and stuff. At this point, I had ended up spinning in the corner, and I had realized the Tesla lab literally was right by this fortress, which was literally perfect. So I ended up just doing a little jog over to this Tesla lab, and basically what you're going to want to do is you're going to end up finding out where your Tesla lab is. It literally could be anywhere, but luckily in this game it was right by my fortress. So what I had ended up doing is going inside and pretty much looting all of this stuff in here. You're going to want to get the gold bars, you're going to get the books for fuel as well, and you're going to want to get the brain as well, because that sells for quite a lot of money. So yeah, make sure you grab all the valuables and stuff in here, grab some fuel, and you'll be straight and set to go. And what you're going to want to do is end up returning this to your nearest fortress, whether it's the one near you, or you might have to go like an additional 10,000 meters, you know, to end up getting to the next fortress. But yeah, what you're gonna want to do is just grab all this stuff and you'll be straight to go. Now at this point, I had realized there literally wasn't nothing at this general store at this fortress I was at. So what I ended up doing was simply just buying the last 2 pieces of my armor, the little shorter pieces, and I ended up buying some spikes. So I ended up setting those spikes down, you know what I'm saying, and I also ended up buying a ton of snake oil. Make sure you have at least like probably like 10 snake oils would be good, just so you don't end up getting packed out at the last area. So yeah, just get some snake oil, get some spikes. If you buy some metal, get that, but we'll get more on that later when I actually get to a stop that has these metal sheets, and you should be straight to good. Right, next up is going to be heading over to the 60,000 meter marker. So what I ended up doing is I ended up taking the train and riding all the way over to the 60,000 meter marker. Now at this point, this is the point where there were some metal sheets, so we ended up getting into constructing our train for the finale, for the end game. And I'm going to end up just doing a little brief analysis of how I ended up constructing this train right here. Right here, what you're going to want to do is you're going to end up entering inside of the general store and making sure you end up purchasing you some sheets of metal. Definitely would recommend having around 4 to 5 pieces of these metal. As you can see in this footage right here, I ended up purchasing 5. Now simply what you're going to want to do is you're going to have these pieces of metal, and you should have those little spike traps that you end up getting earlier. You're going to end up buying some more if you don't have them. Place them all around your ship or your train. Place them everywhere. They're very important. Make sure they're well. Hit every single window, every single corridor, every single place where you end up thinking an enemy can end up shooting a bullet at you. You know what I'm saying? Get a little close so you can end up getting it in the right position. And yeah, basically do that. You know what I'm saying? Get your train straight, get your train right. And basically, if you feel like you can get shot in that corner, put a metal wall there and you'll be okay. That's what I ended up doing in this footage right here. Make sure those spike traps are set up by the door where the enemies can end up entering inside of the train, and you should be good to go and set and ready to end up playing. It's time for the end game. So at this point, you should end up having your train completely ready, and at this point you're going to want to end up setting off for the 80,000 mark, or if you're at the 70,000 mark, just set up for the 80,000 mark. If you need to spend another night to get some more coal or fuel, do that, but make sure you have everything set and ready in stone, and we can end up completing this pacifist challenge. Now once you have ended up arriving to the final area, what you're going to want to do is simply pull out of your train, drink a couple of snake oils, and you're going to want to turn the dial. Make sure you do that and have the snake oils on standby so you don't end up getting pretty much one shot. Drink like 3 or 4 so you basically immortal, and you should be good to go. Now at this point, what I had ended up doing is going back into the train. I did make a mistake right here because I was trying to pull the metal to like fit the door. You don't have to do that, trust me, you don't have to do that. I ended up self-reviving right here. Also, if you do end up self-reviving by any means during this challenge, it will not, like, the lightning will not cancel out the challenge. So that's just a little tip to know. But yeah, pretty much at this point, what you're gonna want to do is you're gonna end up waiting inside of here. You know, my metal was bugging out, but you really don't need that metal piece. I promise you don't. You'll be fine. All you're gonna want to do from here is simply just end up positioning yourself right so you don't end up getting shot, and you'll be good to go. My game was bugging out a little bit right here, but we were good to go. So just end up waiting right here. Now, pretty much it's going to take around like 5 minutes, and if you guys are noticing you're taking damage, drink your snake oils. This is why you ended up buying about like 9-10 of those, but yeah, you should end up being good to go, you know what I'm saying? Just end up waiting here for a little bit, you know what I'm saying? You should have some armor as well to negate the damage as well if you haven't ended up dying, and yeah, you should really be good right here. Now, at this point, I ended up completing it right here, and we ended up finishing off the challenge. As you guys can see, we ended up surviving all 80,000 meters right here. It doesn't end up popping up at the end, but if you guys do end up checking, you should be good to go, and you ended up completing the challenge. So yeah, guys, that's gonna end up ending off the video right here. I hope you guys did end up enjoying it. You did end up getting the challenge done, so you can end up completing this pacifist challenge very easy. But yeah, that's all I gotta say. Make sure you guys do end up having a great day, and yeah, bye. Also, shout out to Mr.